Here's the truth about leading your wife in relationship from the masculine standpoint. You don't. There's such a huge misinterpretation of what it means to really lead in relationship. And the common myth, the common misconception is that everything has to be as you say, right? And for kind, good-hearted, high-performing husbands like you, we don't want to do that, right? How many of us grew up with those oppressive fathers that were like my way or the highway? And so it was, we absolutely vowed to not be that. So what do we do when we hear things, we hear rhetoric around masculinity? We're like, nope, I'm not going to do that. Nope, I'm not going to rock the boat, and I'm not going to do anything that even resembles, right, how my way or the highway father used to be. But here's the thing. It's not leadership, true leadership, right? Rooted in your masculine core, rooted in your heart, from your soul. It is not about control, okay? Masculine leadership is not about control. It is about invitation. If I had to narrow it down to anything, I would say that it's about invitation, right? I'll tell you a story. I started doing this, pointing to my chest every day. No, just kidding. I started taking weighted walks every day, every single day. And my kids would laugh, right? They would think that it's silly. And I hated it. I was like, it was hard to do, and but still, like I just kept at it. And months go by, and my kids watch as I just wouldn't give this thing up. I would not stop these weighted walks. And then my son, Elliot, he wanted to try it out, right? So I let him just like put it on his shoulders, and then he, walked a couple feet, and he was invigorated by how difficult it was, and then how he felt after he had, done something as hard as walk a couple feet in this thing. So now, when they're home and when I want to go on an evening walk, he comes with me. That's leadership. You see, at the end of the day, it's more about byproduct. You want influence, right? Well, influence comes from being so dialed in on who you are, what you want, what your standards are. Are you truly living out your values? That congruence creates influence, right? Congruence creates influence. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember that. Congruence creates influence. What are your standards? For example, what are your standards for health? Right? You probably have very high standards for health. Okay? Good. So if your wife tried to guilt you into not going to the gym when you said that you would go, right? Chances are you probably would say no, you're still going. Unless you have some nice guy tendencies, in which case you're more afraid of losing love and kind of enmeshed in this codependent dynamic, and then you actually stay and compromise yourself, right? But I say that to say So, okay, we have our standard for health. Good. We're aware of our standard for health. We're aware of how it's a value of ours, and we're living in integrity with that, right? But what about respect? What is your standard for self-respect? Do you allow her to say passive-aggressive comments towards you? Do you allow her to criticize you? Do you allow her to nag you? Do you allow her to, correct you or to talk to you like you're a child? What is that, right? What is your stand? You ever heard that, you teach people how to treat you? Well, that couldn't be more true. You teach people how to treat you. And so, your environment becomes a byproduct of your, what do I want to say? Your environment becomes a byproduct of your level of alignment with yourself. What does that mean? That means you don't go around barking orders and telling people what to do. You invite them. You invite them to experience your standards. Right, for another example, Friday nights are movie nights, right? Now, this is one that I'm actually not fully dialed in on. This is something that I'm working on. But Friday nights are movie nights for the family. And it's a standard that I want to set because I value connection, right? I value unity, teamwork, cohesion. And so I could be like, everyone has to show up Friday at 7 for movie night or you're grounded or you're in trouble, which is another my way or the highway control, flavored leadership. It's just not who I want to be, right? I want them to want to be there. So what is leadership in this context? Leadership in this context is putting it on the calendar, reminding them, and making it alluring, buying popcorn, finding out what movies my kids like to watch, finding out what movies I like to watch, right? Their mother likes to watch. And then, right, but like you want to listen to the energy of that. I want this thing to happen. I'm not going to force it to happen, but I am going to raise I'm going to raise the standard for us spending time together. So I have to learn how to get creative and I have to learn how to connect. And sometimes I'll get too tired, right? And then I'll just like throw in the towel and let them go play with their friends. So again, this isn't perfection, right? Progress. I'm working on that. But I say all of this to say that congruence creates influence. You don't lead your wife by telling her what to do. Your wife will follow your lead when you embody your values and you live your standards. And that is the byproduct of self-awareness and honesty. Getting clear on what those are. So let's make this practical. What are areas where that you feel out of integrity, out of out of connection, right? That will tell you what your standard is. So, for example, if you have an argument and then you give the silent treatment, right? What are we communicating that our value is? What are we communicating that the standard is? And so, what can we do then? Well, without judgment, we can reevaluate. What is the standard? What is the value here? What is my value here? And who is it that I want to be now? What do I choose? So then what am I going to do? I am going to create a new standard so that when we get into an argument and I want to give her the silent treatment, I'm going to raise the standard for myself when it comes to communication. I'm going to call myself out. I'm going to tell her, I want to withdraw. I want to avoid. I want to give the silent treatment. But I'm not going to do that. I just want you to see me and know that I really want to, but I'm not going to. So here's what I am going to do, right? I'm going to take some time. I'm going to take a day and we're going to revisit this. You know, at this time, that is masculine leadership. So that's what I wanted to share with you today is don't worry about leading her. Don't worry about leading your kids. It's all about leading yourself, letting them watch and inviting them to participate and see for themselves what it's like to live with higher standards that feel true, that feel good, that feel like an expression of who you really are and what you really want and the life that you want to live for them and together. Alrighty. Lion heart out. See you on the next one.